Welcome to the Coffee Break Podcast, where our mission is to share business ideas, practices, and strategies while we enjoy our coffee. Today, unfortunately, we don't have any coffee, but we're going to drink water, so it's very close. It's very close. Today's guest is Daniel Gills from ASSA ABLOY, and we'll be talking to him in just a few minutes. I'm Chad Lingefeld with Loc-Doc Security, and we'll be back right after this.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
All right, welcome back. And Daniel, thank you for taking time out of your schedule today to be here.
Absolutely.
We're kind of set up remote here in San Antonio. I don't know if you can really see what's behind us, but
Beautiful day outside, I can tell you that much.
It was raining earlier. I was like, this is going to be great. But we are here in San Antonio, Texas, for the Medeco Security Center Conference, part of the whole ASSA ABLOY deal. And so I'm trying to take an opportunity. We're pre-recording this. Normally we do this live, but just from sake of we've got a few days here and we're just trying to get a lot of these conversations down. So definitely appreciate you taking time out to do this.
Thanks for having me.
Part of the podcast, one of the segments that we have introduced this season is 5 rapid fire questions.
Hit me.
So here we go. 5 questions. What totally rad expression did you overuse in high school?
Totally rad expression that I overuse. Probably bro or man, way too much. Way too much.
It was like sweet or psych,
Cool bro, sick man. Yeah, it was definitely not something I'm proud of.
All right, question number 2. What band would you be embarrassed to admit that you listen to?
Band I'm embarrassed to admit that I listen to. I listen to a lot of music. I'm probably embarrassed to show you what I do listen to. Let's see. I can't think of it. I love music, all different types of music, so I probably wouldn't be embarrassed of anything because there's probably a story or a reason why. But my music taste is all over the chart, so I'd be bold and strong and say I'm not embarrassed for any of it.
There you go. I'm owning it. All right. What is your strangest talent?
Strangest talent. I up until recently I could dunk a basketball.
You could?
I could. So that was a very strange talent.
What changed?
I stopped playing basketball and started going to yoga. So strange talent now I found that I can do a split.
Oh.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It started as an accident, but now I've honed my craft. So namaste.
That's awesome. That's awesome. If you wrote a book, what would it be called?
A Day in the Life of D. Gills.
Day in the Life of D. Gills. All right. And then last, number 5, what game show would you be super awesome at?
Family Feud.
Really?
Love watching it. Tons of energy.
The older Family Feud or the new one with
Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
But it all depends. I mean, you have to have a good group with you. My family's pretty fun and spectacular, so I think we'd make a comedy hit out of that one as well. No dull moments.
Awesome. So a couple things just from an introduction standpoint. You recently married?
Recently married, November, yes.
Yeah, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So a lot of interesting things have happened for you over, I don't know, what, the past 10 years. I was thinking back on our original meeting back, a decade ago, and I've told this story multiple times, but obviously not on the podcast. The first time that I ever met you, you came down to our office for a customer presentation that we were going to do alongside of Joey Kingma, and I think that was like your first week or second week or something like that with the company.
Second week on the job.
And Joey walks in, he's like, "Yeah, we've got this guy. He's going to be our new, intelligent key specialist." And I was standing there going, "What in the world have I gotten myself into?" One, I've got Joey Kingma down here for this presentation, and now this guy, and I don't even really know what we're doing. I don't even know what I'm walking into. And it's interesting as I was thinking through that, and that was about 10 years ago.
It was June. I got hired June 1st of 2010.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it's so close to
9 years.
And now we're sitting at that customer is now one of our largest customers for Intelligent Key.
I remember that exact meeting. We sat in actually, it was more than just a one-on-one meeting. We had a whole conference room of people.
Yeah, there was like 40 people in there. It was wild. So anyways, I just thought that was interesting. So that's kind of how we originally got to meet you, and then have just kind of stayed in touch throughout your career with ASSA ABLOY. And so wanted to kind of touch a little bit on that, and kind of the direction for the conversation today is it taking risk in your career moves, or is it a strategic plan, right? So that's going to kind of be the concept of conversation today, as we chat into that and kind of get your thoughts on that. So walk us through transitioning out of college into ASSA ABLOY as a whole. How did that look for you, and kind of what was your focus there?
It's kind of a whirlwind looking back at it. So I graduated school in 2010, right after the market crashed. Mm-hmm. Had student debt already piling up, so it was one of those experiences where I'm staring down the barrel of debt.
Yep.
I needed a job just to start feeling comfortable, making money, to be able to pay that off. And there weren't many options available when I was looking, especially in the area I was living. Wanted to stay back in Southwest Virginia, and through a personal relationship from my school, actually a professor of mine that taught me and Ben Soltze, she put me in touch with someone at Medeco.
Okay.
Applied for a finance job. That was the only position they had posted at the time. Yeah. I just wanted something that was going to pay me. I studied, had a background in business and some finance, so felt it could be a good fit. And the valedictorian of my class also applied for the same job.
All right.
Resumes weren't necessarily apples to apples in terms of that, but I interviewed and thought I did well, and they said, well, we actually have a sales position coming open. Would you be interested in that? Jumped right in. I have kind of had a natural ability to talk to folks, love engaging, meeting people, and learning about them, and said, why not? So went through the interview process, got hired by Joey Kingma, and really just started my path there at that point in time. Totally not intending to get in sales, but there it went.
So what are some lessons from that process, maybe either the interview process or even just kind of that first position, that you would say if somebody's kind of starting their career, what are some things that you learned you wish you would have known then, but now you know, that you would give advice to somebody in that perspective?
First thing is to take a step back and look at, what is it that you truly want to do, and realize that you may be put into situations or roles where you feel you're not comfortable or ready to do it.
Yep.
But if you're confident in yourself and you're motivated, you'll be much better taking on a new challenge, a new task, when a curveball's thrown or when something doesn't necessarily go your direction, and that's okay.
Yeah. So on that same mindset, though, do you really know what, post-graduation, do you really know what you want to do? I mean, I'm, a few years past that, and I still am trying to get comfortable in my skin. How do you know what you're comfortable with or what you want to do at that point?
I still don't know what I want to do some days. So it's I think it all comes down to what you personally believe are your strengths, what you're interested in, and really kind of what's your why.
So is it also something that you have to keep in mind that obviously will change over time? So don't, what it is that you're getting into at that particular moment, just do it to your best of your ability, because it's going to build experience and exposure to other things that you may not know that you're good at or that you're comfortable with. Is that fair?
And that's a good point. So I actually got recently asked in a different meeting, why did you join ASSA ABLOY? And looking back at it now, today, looking back at that then, exposure. And going into a situation, is there something bigger than just what's immediately in front of you?
Yeah.
So back to your original question, I would definitely say don't just go in looking at something for face value. Look at what could be beyond that, be it the next step, and are there opportunities that may not be there in year one, year two, but there's a bigger picture ahead. Bigger picture, different picture, and I think that's one of the things in my career and with ASSA ABLOY, there's tons of opportunities because we are so diverse with what we offer.
So you're in Salem, Virginia. You're working there at Medeco. You're kind of learning that whole process and really representing the electronic key division. Accurate? Yep. And then at some point in time, you move out to Denver.
Took a leap of faith, took a new position to manage Medeco and Aero for the Western region.
Okay. And what was that would you consider that a risky move, or was that strategic? Was that something you said, hey, you know what, I need to do this because I need to take care of this, or whatever the case? How did that work for you? Was it something that how did that whole process come about?
Personally, it was a risk.
Okay.
Born and raised Roanoke, Virginia, had never been on an airplane before I worked for Medeco. So first couple years, traveled all over the place, got totally comfortable in my own skin. So personally, picking up and leaving was tough, but professionally, it was strategic. It was an opportunity to do something different, to really jump into a situation where I was really one of the youngest people in our company and then had a team reporting to me.
Yeah.
So I knew going into it was going to stretch me.
Yeah.
That was one of the motivations for it. But it was an opportunity, and I took it and just went full force with it.
So what are some things that's interesting? So you come in from a sales kind of support role, in that intelligent
Very much
key,
so.
and then you're moving into a regional director. Was that the role?
Yep.
Now you're supporting a team of people that you're supporting, and they're reporting to you. Again, lessons that you learned in that, things that you didn't expect through that process.
First thing is you don't have to be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
You just you have to know how to engage with people, understand what the common goals are, and work with them. And it's okay to ask questions for how you need to get to where you're going.
Okay.
Because you don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
So I came in a young, aggressive person, hard charging, and thought I had some things figured out, and quickly got humbled and realized that collaboration is really the key to success with that.
So with collaboration, that's a big buzzword in our industry. We talk about it a lot. We're big fans of it, but collaboration in an aspect of being open and honest to say, hey, I don't know the answers. Let's work through this together. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Definitely. And I think it starts with knowing where your true north is, where are your goals, what are your metrics, what are the KPIs, what are you driving towards, and how are we going to get there? And
then leveraging the experience of others or the opinions of others to kind of craft that exact task list or how you're going to actually tactically do it.
Yeah, build the plan to get there. And
that's interesting. I think that's a good piece of advice that a lot of people overlook. I know everything. I know what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to get there. I just need to tell you how to do it. Versus, hey, this is a general direction. These are our goals that we want to try to accomplish. Now we have to all collectively figure out how we are going to approach it.
And I think that's one of the things I learned early on is being young and seeing different leadership styles. I'm not the type that likes to sit back and point and say, go do. I'm the type, let's roll up our sleeves and figure out how we're going to get it done, and be kind of one and the same with the team that we're working with.
So my initial thought on that is that something that you learned through experience? Is that something that came naturally to you, or is it something that you gained by exposure from others or examples from others?
I would say examples from others,
okay.
And really having a network of mentors as well. That's one thing to any young person I'd recommend. Branch out. Have people you can call and talk about personal challenges and how to balance business and personal. Talk about strategies and execution. I think it's very good to have people to go to. And there's times where I'll call customers.
Yeah.
I'll call people, colleagues. I'll call people above me in an org chart. I'll call people in the field just to get perspective. I think that's the biggest thing, to have those resources, because you won't know everything.
Yeah.
You're not expected to know everything, but by asking questions and staying curious, you can learn a lot more.
So you're in Denver for a couple of years?
Did that for 3 years and then moved back to Virginia to take over a national role.
A national role for just a couple of brands, or what was that?
Director sales for the U.S. for Aero and Medeco.
Okay. So you've played heavily in the entire, on the ASSA ABLOY side, on specifically Medeco. You've been around Medeco for a long period of time. You went out there to do the regional sales director, and then you come back for a national role, positioned there in Salem.
Yep.
And what was that like, taking the experience that you've learned as a sales support regional director, now national sales? How is all those things kind of building for you?
So it gave me a ton of exposure to what our customers ultimately need and how we can deliver solutions to them.
Okay.
From a field sales and field support perspective, then going back nationally based out of the operating company out of the plant, that really helped me explain new strategies, new ways to go to market, improvements we could make, but be at the place where we had all of the right support folks and leadership team members from the factory side. So it really helped blend together my experience in the field with what the factory does every single day.
So utilizing the experience, it helps you to convey the strategies on a more practical level because you've experienced on both sides.
Absolutely.
Kind of brings you together. That's very interesting. So in the national role now, you're making strides in that aspect. And what was the end goal for you there? What were you trying to accomplish? Kind of some of the missions that you were on in that particular role.
To get more experience, more exposure to actually how the business functions and works, from operations planning, from finance and accounting, from the support focus that we have to have for really how the business runs and how we take care of customers.
You know, it's interesting. One of the things that I've picked up from being around anybody that works with ASSA ABLOY is, everybody looks at ASSA ABLOY as this massive giant, which it is, but it's a bunch of small businesses that are operating. And so what you're describing is you're picking up small business experience along the way in so many different applications. Finance, manufacturing, you picked up on all of those things while you're going through that. So while you spend time there, the next move for you, if I'm not mistaken, is brand manager?
Now business development director for Arrow and Yale.
Okay.
So no longer Medeco on the cylinders key system side, totally hardware now with Arrow and Yale.
What are the biggest challenges? I mean, I know in our industry, for those that are watching or listening that may not understand that, what you're talking about is the thing that goes in the lock that you put your key in versus the thing that holds the thing that you put your key in, right?
Locks the door, closes the door.
What are some challenges from translating from those two different types of products? Because they're very similar, yet very distinctly different.
Yes, very distinctly different. It's a good way to put it. It's so I've been at this now for about a year and love it. It's a totally different challenge. It's still similar, but also different ways to market. A lot of it being driven more in new construction, which is something I was not used to.
Yeah.
Where with Medeco and Arrow, they're really aftermarket, retrofit, upgrade, Yale's new construction. So totally different channel, totally different way to market.
Makes sense.
And really looking at what Yale does, we're fortunate to have really two pieces of our business where we have specified products, but we also have really more opening price point products. So trying to manage a brand that plays in two different markets through a new customer base, it's been a learning curve to say the least, but a lot of fun and a lot of work to be done.
So your day-to-day task, your day-to-day responsibilities, what does that look like for you?
So any given day, I'm working with finance, I'm working with engineering, I'm working with product development, working with operations, and working with sales. So I touch all pillars of our business every single day. And it's everything from customer relationships, a hot order that we need to get out of the factory, or planning for a big project coming down the line, to taking that back to the plants and saying, okay, how are we going to execute against this?
So let me ask you this question, just kind of, I don't know if it's shifting gears or not, but what do you find, we at the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about your strengths and getting comfortable in your skin and all those things. What is something that you're learning now that a strength that you, Daniel Gills, bring to the table that is either unique or, that you're being able to apply, that you're seeing some progress in your particular businesses? I
think communication would be the biggest thing, and forcing communication. It's very easy for people to get relaxed with how communication can be. With the way email works, I think people oftentimes assume things are getting done by just firing out a quick email. Getting people together collaboratively, whether it's a quick phone call, a quick face-to-face meeting, I've learned the importance of that just to get everyone singing from the same sheet of music is paramount to success.
So being very intentional with your communication is something that you think that you have. It's a strength that you're bringing to the organization. How have you seen that to impact change or to kind of spur initiatives?
Specific example: we have a large customer with a very complex project, and in the beginning, we unfortunately had communication siloed. There was field communication that wasn't getting back to the factory, and ultimately we put our customer in a very tight spot and almost lost the business.
Yeah.
So we broke down barriers and said, okay, every week we're going to have a pulse meeting for 30 minutes to talk about the status of this project.
Yeah.
And we invited the customer on there. So we were exposing ourselves a little bit in the sense that we weren't necessarily prepared to answer all their questions.
Yeah.
So you have a few of those few awkward first dates almost where the calls aren't going quite as well, but we were able to expose ourselves, but they could also see information we needed from them and their customer to help execute.
But you also gain a lot of traction with a customer, I would imagine, in that aspect by being transparent and saying, "Hey, this is ultimately what we're dealing with, and our end goal is to best serve you and to make sure that we're meeting your expectations. And so, in order to do that, we're kind of pulling back the curtains a little bit and just, what do you need to know, and this is what we need to know."
And from that, open communication and honesty has helped develop a great relationship that's led to new business.
Yeah.
But it's also made it easier when you do have to have a hard conversation where something doesn't go well. You're more comfortable, you feel more confident going into that, and you can collaborate to work through issues. They'll always come up.
So it's almost like if you're expressing intent, right? So everybody's on the same page with intent, then when the hard conversations come up, you have a lot more grace in that situation because they understand the intent is to solve the problem.
Yeah, it's intent, and then that trust factor's there.
Yeah.
They know you're working in their best interest. You can't always go out of your way to please everybody every time, but there's a level of understanding there for sure.
That's very interesting. So, in all of the things that you've progressed throughout your career, and one of the things that I've recognized from you from a distance, because, a lot of our interactions have never been directly connected. It's just been through a lot of connectors, has been you always maintain this positive outlook. It's you continue to, hey, there's a high level of optimism. We're going to get this thing figured out one way or another, versus just always carrying a long line of no's, and I think that's, if I were to and again, I'm not working with you every day, so this is whatever that I'm picking up from you, is that if that's how you're helping with that communication in your businesses and in your industry, that's where a huge impact can happen, because you're initiating communication, but you're also initiating positive and progressive communication versus just, we get in that conversation, it seems like a lot in our organization. Yep. You can talk, but are you actually making progress in the conversation? And it seems like that's what you're describing.
And it's fun to sit back and watch, because again, I've known you guys almost now, 10 years, and to see how you've grown and how you develop your organization. Every business has the same challenges. It's getting people to rally around a common goal and lay out plans to execute it. No matter what business you're in, it's about people working together. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and the partnership or the kind of connection between ASSA ABLOY and our business has been interesting, because we have been privileged, I guess, to be able to visit a lot of the factories from a manufacturing standpoint, and to be connected with folks like yourself and kind of get more of an insight of what's happening. And so there are cues, like your pulse meeting. We have those internally. We have team huddles, very similar to some of the progress report meetings that we learned that ASSA ABLOY uses. Yep. Impacted our business significantly. Understanding ways to simplify procedures and processes from things that we saw in the factory. We didn't take that exact process and apply it, but we took some of those key factors of it and were able to apply it back. And then even also understanding some of the challenges that come from the manufacturing process to be able to communicate that back to our customers has been very, very valuable. So it's interesting from a partnership perspective is, like you just said, our business is not a whole lot different other than, terms of specifically what we're doing every single day, the number of employees, and, the overall budgets that we're managing. You're all dealing with the same type of struggles of communication silos, getting everybody on the same page, communicating well with your customers, problem solving, all that issue resolution inside your own organization. It's all the same. And so you can have the opportunity in situations like this that you sit down and you're able to communicate those thoughts to each other and pick up cues and then go and apply it in whatever makes sense in your organization. And the biggest thing is being consistent about that. Yeah. Not making it an event, making it part of a routine. And that's one thing that's fun to watch how you do it. I think, is it Wednesdays you have your team meetings?
Yeah.
And you get everybody in the room and you've got structured content every week. And everybody is collaborating around a common goal, common challenges, common opportunities that are at those meetings. And I think that's one thing I actually, some of the things you guys talk about, take and put back. And ASSA ABLOY is very good about challenging us to focus on planning early, communicate often, and always ask, is there a better way to do this?
Yeah, that's awesome. I hate to cut this conversation short, but
you're a busy man. You guys both.
We're supposed to be headed to a meeting shortly, but I definitely appreciate it. And this has been a very valuable conversation for me, and I know for our viewers and our listeners. If this is your first time watching or listening, hey, we've got a slew of these things. I don't know how many episodes now, 33, 34 episodes available online, Loc-Doc.net/podcast. Check that out. Video form is on YouTube and Facebook, so check those out as well. And we have a new episode every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Be sure to subscribe so you get the notifications on that. Daniel, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
We will see you next Tuesday on the Coffee Break Podcast. To learn more about the topics discussed today and to connect with us online to hear all of the episodes available, visit Loc-Doc.net/podcast.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
The Coffee Break Podcast is brought to you by Loc-Doc Security. We'd love to connect with you online on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Just search LOCDOCINC.